Hi guys. So get my cover. So I've been kind of, since we did the last video on a bit of weaving, I figured that I'd get ourselves out and about doing some gardening. I've got a little bit of stuff I need to be doing, moving some crops. But first, I think what I'll do is I will use my snap of a finger to get into my gardening outfit as per usual. So 1, 2, 3. Fungaries back on. Yeah, so as I was saying guys, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look into doing some movement of plants. We've got some plants that I had here grown last season that went to seed, and they're looking kind of a bit of full with life, so I'm going to move them into a different plot. Got some raised beds out the front that we're going to be kind of taking care of over the next couple of weeks or months or however long this is going to be. So yeah, what we've got is we've got some chard, we have some spinach, we'll plant some lettuce into some rows as well to start our kind of germination for this quickly growing veg, which should be ready in about 10 weeks or so. Like I said, a lot of them have kind of come to life. I've got some kale there which I'm going to move over as well. So yeah, ideal time to start growing, get ourselves outside. I'll do it two ways, so you can do it with smaller spaces, maybe in pots if you're going to be growing in your garden, or if you've got a bigger bit of land or a raised bed or something like that, you can delve into doing that as well. So I'll show you what I've got down there, and then I'll show you the new space, and then we'll get doing some digging. Okay, so where it is that we had a pretty good crop this year from what we've got. It's starting to grow over with a bit of weeds, so what I'm wanting to do is just to move these, because they went to seed, they got a bit cluttered. So we've got some spinach we're going to move, just so we can give it some more space, a bit more sun. I know this gets quite a lot of sun, but into a designated growing space. So grab your cuppers as always guys, ting ting ting, and we'll get ourselves outside and some gardening. Yeah, catch us in a couple of seconds now. Should we dig out first, or should we show you the plot first? Sun cream as well, put your sun cream on. Right, catch us in a sec, bye. Okay, so what we've got is our new space. Got a lovely big Axel dog. Hey Axel, hey, enjoying the sunshine. There he is, there's Axel. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a couple of beds, or we've got 3 beds that we're going to be using. They haven't been used apparently in a good 6 years, so there's a lot of work we need to do to kind of to turn the soil and make it ready to grow. It's going to be the same as any plot that you've got in your space, even if it's a bit of land out the front. I'll teach you how to cultivate that and turn it. But here's our little spaces. We have 1, 2, and the third one's kind of overrun with weeds. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I will quickly take you over how to turn these beds and prep the soil. What you might need is some compost if you want to add just a bit of more nutrients to the soil. But the best way to do it is making sure this is as wet as possible, because the soil just breaks up a lot better, and on a gorgeously sunny day like this it'll dry it out pretty quickly as well. So yeah, what we're going to do is I'll set up shop just there, teach you how to turn the soil, and then yeah, we will do that. Okay guys, so what we've got is we've got this lovely bed behind us, kind of overrun with weeds, and we don't really want these in the garden when we're planting, because the weeds will just sap out all the nutrients from that should be going to the plants we want them to grow. So we want to get rid of as much of those weeds as possible. So what I've got is, if depending on the size of the plot you're working on, this is about 2 meters by 2 meters, so it's not huge, not like a normal allotment plot that you'd get, but I'm going to be using a hoe to get rid of this, and what I'm going to do is first I'm just going to take off the top layer of the weeds that are grown, just to disrupt the roots so they may not grow back. And then what I'm going to do is I'll show you and probably speed it up, then soak the soil so we can get that turned over, and then turn it over using either a fork or more of a kind of this ploughy kind of hoe going on, which can get right under there and dig. So I'll speak up, but what you're basically wanting to do is you're taking the top half off and just moving the soil backwards and forwards just to click off the roots from the weeds, and you can get right in there just to dig over and pull all the soil As you can see, it's quite tough, this soil, and it's not moving that much. But once we get the tops of the root or the roots out, then we can start to cultivate the soil to make it work a little bit better with the growing that we're going to be doing. Now, this is quite sandy soil, so this is going to be quite good to grow carrots in if I can get down deep enough. So as you see, I'm just taking off the top layer, picking out all the bigger bits, and then just discarding them, just to eliminate as much weeds as possible, so we can have a proper growing space. So I'll speed this up. Okay, so that kind of pulled over. Okay, you don't need to worry so much about the smaller tops of the weeds. They'll just, as long as you've disturbed the roots and chopped the roots off, that'll just die back over time into the soil and kind of maybe be a bit nutrients for the soil. But the bigger stuff, like we've got here, yeah, get rid of those. You can stick them in your compost and they'll probably die back if you've got a compost bin. So the next plan is we're gonna soak this something rotten, make sure it's all kind of moist, just so it's easy to break down with the hoe and turn with the soil. Otherwise there'll be a really hard layer because it hasn't been used for so long, and a really kind of softer layer on the top. We're going to get some more compost just to give it a proper top over, just to make sure we'll get all those nutrients in the soil, and yeah, we'll move on from there. Okay, so I'm going to soak this and I'll show you what we're doing next. Okay guys, so we're going to move to one in true Blue Peter style of, here's one I prepped earlier. I've given the ground a good soak, so you can see the soil or the compost is kind of broken up quite nicely. What I'm going to do as a final thing is just going to rake the soil, just to kind of turn that in, maybe break up some of those last bits, have a good even spread over my soil or over the bed, and then we can start getting some planting in. So we'll plant out into these from the other plot, and yeah, get into these. I've got some bags of compost as well, as you might see, which I'm just gonna now put a nice layer over the top, just so we can yeah, we can get some growing started. We'll start with some of the quick growing veg, like your lettuce, spinach, chard. See if we've got some beetroots. I've got some runner beans that I'm gonna plant up as well, so I'll make a structure for those and show that. Make a little teepee for them just to grow up, because they're getting quite leggy at the minute, being inside, and they need to be kind of strung up, and so they can grow a bit better. So we've got our compost kind of broken down, and the last bit of the soil, and then the last bit of compost is just going to give that little bit more nutrients to the soil. Okay, so it's just going to be a thin layer over the top, and this is where your rake's going to come in handy. So what I'll do is I'll open this up, and then just spread it around. Maybe 2 bags might do it. And as I say, this is just going to give a nice bit of nutrients to the soil. One down, one to go. And always, guys, gloves are usually handy. I'm not using gloves today. Thought I'd get myself nice and messy. So there we have it, and then I'm just going to evenly distribute this compost around the bed, just so we get that good layer of topsoil mixed in with that freshly bought compost. And if you're making your own in your compost bins, that's fine to use that too. Again, give it one final water, and then we're ready to go. Okay, it's always good or best to plant in wet soil. Okay, we've got some seeds we're going to be planting straight into the ground, and we've got some transplanting to do. So I'll take you to the other garden so we can transplant those. And yeah, food quickly, 10 weeks, let's say. I'm ready to go. Yeah, hook on my arm. Right, catch us in a sec. Hi. Alright guys, so what I've got is, you can see I've got some growth here. Some of them are bolted, so I'm not going to use these. So I've got some kale, or some green curly kale, some purple curly kale. I've got some chard, and I've got some spinach over here. What I wanted to do, since they're quite crowded, because they'd gone to seed and they weren't in kind of line, and come up this year, I'm wanting to move them into that other plot that I'm preparing. So what you'll need is, you're going to be needing a fork or a hand fork, and just a pot to move them into. Also, water, like a bucket of water, won't help, or will help. Won't do you any harm. It won't do you any harm. Just to wash off the roots and clear any of the soil that's there. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to dig up. I'm using a fork rather than a trowel, just so I can get in between those roots and lift them up. Okay. So if you can see, I'm just getting rid of all of the soil surrounding. See, that's quite dry, but this should go straight into the ground. And since it's starting to be an established plant, it'll grow and grow and grow. So just to move them over, I've got a little Tupperware box, and we'll start with the kale, and then we'll move along to the spinach and the more leafy veg. Okay. So again, just breaking up all of that old soil. I want to move this quite quickly. You don't want them just stood around getting rid of any weeds, not in soil, because they'll start to die off and the roots won't be getting the nutrients. So as a quick turnaround, we'll plant these out, get them into the ground, into the new home. It might take a while. They might look like they're dying back. They're just getting used to the new home of being in their new bed of soil. All need time to acclimatise and adjust to our new homes. Kind of, if you go on holiday and you don't jump out in the sun straight away, otherwise you'll get the old sunstroke maybe. So yeah, I'm going to be chopping these away, getting some of the purple ones out as well, just so we've got a bit of colour diversity in there. These should plant straight into the ground, and look at the colour of that, beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to move these over there. I'll show you how to transplant them. They're out. You can give them a wash into some water, and if you wish, and yeah, we'll get these planted in the ground. So I'll carry on doing this and speed it up, I think. Okay, for the next bit, guys, we're going to do the spinach and the chard. Now, these grow really easily from seed, so if you just want to plant them straight into seed, or from seed, they will start to grow over the next kind of couple of months. They'll come up quite quickly. There's no need to move these around. You can buy these already established from the shops. I'm just moving these because I want this space. I'm going to have it more of a flowery garden here and have more of a produce out the front. So it's the same thing. You want to nip in all the leaves will come from one certain point. So I've gone about 3 inches away from the plant, and just kind of loosening that up. And now I don't want to take too much of the soil away from this. It's just enough. As you can see, the roots are kind of coming up quite thickly there. So not too much of the soil away. But there's one plant that's going to go in, okay? So stick that in a nice pot, let it live for a bit, and then just carry on working through your plots, getting rid of any of the dying off plants there. And looking at the size of these spinach, this is about the size you get from the shop, so giving it more room to grow, more space to kind of be able to cultivate itself is great. And these are really good because you can just leave them be to do their own thing, watering them not in the midday sun because that'll really scorch the leaves, but watering them in the morning, in the evening, give it a good amount of food. So this is going to be our spinach, which at least we'll get a good bit of the garden growing up, so we can see a little bit of an outcome. Okay, catch us in a sec. Okay guys, I don't know if you can see, but I've kind of mapped out where I'm going to be planting this stuff. I'm going to do the kale first, so I'm going to come up a bit closer to the camera so you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. I'll be speaking quite loudly and trying to enunciate. So what I might do is no, this should be fine. Okay, so what I've got is I've got all of our kale. Okay, the roots are kind of nicely there. And what we're wanting to do is you can use a trowel or you can just use your hands, which I'm going to use just now, just to kind of space them apart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice kind of wall in between where I'm going to be planting some peas and some lettuce leaves. Okay, so what you're wanting to do is you're going to dig a hole beneath, maybe up to about your knuckles from the surface, and then you're just going to simply plant that in, pat it down, make sure it's nice and secure. And since you've wet the soil first, it shouldn't need watering, okay? Which is the glorious part of this. So I think I might make a pattern, and I might go green, purple, green, purple, green, purple, green, purple, see how that comes out. So, same again, about 6 inches apart, pat it down, and keep going. Maybe get it more over, maybe stick two switch over here. And this will be, as I say, about 6 inches apart, and this will create a nice barrier between the peas that I'll have grown and the lettuce. Now when we do get winds over here, it usually comes in from this side, so it will protect it as it's grown. Another thing you can use, corn's a great thing as a protector, as a barrier. So yeah, I'll move these all in, just simply tapping it down about 6 inches apart, making sure it's really pushed down so it can ground itself. And I'll speed this up. Hey, okay, so we have a nice, I'll move this so you can see. I have a nice line with some leftover kale which can go somewhere else. I have a nice line, if you can see, of our kale patch. Oh, do I have two more purple ones I can stick in there just to finish the pattern? And because we laid a nice fresh bit of new compost, this is going to give the nutrients to this to the soil, to the plants, so they can really thrive and grow. Hopefully these will grow quite bushy. I'm hoping about year high, just off camera. And now we'll move on to transplanting the chard. Okay, 2 secs. God, this sun's really hot. Okay, so we've got spinach. I think I'm going to put the spinach in this trough here. Rainbow chard will go here. Might even get 2 rows of that, so 2 rows of rainbow chard, and then lettuce in the middle. I've also got some additional just seeds for them all, just to kind of plant in next to it, just so it gives more of a chance for more of a crop. So this should be a really thriving space. So similarly to your kale, who got there in the end, we've got our chard here. Our the roots are a lot more kind of prominent in this one, so you can get away with digging in a lot deeper and just patting that down. If you see I've made a trough, you can use it with your outside of your hand, which is always good, or as I say, you can use a trowel. And I'm just going to be planting less of a pattern for this one, I think, separating the red from the white and the yellow, and again maybe a little less. I've gone for about 4 inches apart in this one, okay? So just digging that in and just using the outside of your trough that you've made just to plant these in, okay? And this, because these are quite established plants, these should be ready in, oh god, don't want to say too quickly, maybe 5 weeks. So we'll keep our eye on these, just making sure that they're all padded down, making sure that we'll leave enough space between the chard and the kale so that they're not kind of sapping each other's food. Okay, I'll stick the last one in there, and then we can move on to our seeds. I'll plant the rest, the other line later. So, lettuce, as we always say, pack it's your best friend, okay? So it'll tell you when's the best time to grow outside. If you can see, to sow outdoors, it's around about now time, telling you that you need to sprinkle it over the top of your drill. So you're making a drill with your hand, not as deep as you would with your soil or with your already established plants, and you simply, with mucky hands, dry these up on the grass. Always go from packet to hand to ground. So I'm just going to empty up all of the seeds into my hand and give it a good sprinkle down my drills or trenches, all the way up to where we've planted the kale. And you don't have to worry too much about overseeding, because we can thin these out as time goes on. And once you've done that, you're just going to simply cover this drill that you've made with the soil. Like I say, we don't really need to give it the proper water because the soil is damp and moist as it is. So yeah, that's a good way to start, okay? Okay, so yeah, I've realised this video is going on for quite a while and I'm getting quite sun-kissed, so I've got loads of stuff all over my arms. So this is our bed that we've just created. So we've transplanted our chard, we've planted some lettuce seeds, and I've just using the same technique. I've transplanted some beets and some spinach into the ground. Obviously just giving that a pat down, making sure everything's upright, and this should be kind of our good to go starting of our greeny garden. So planting from seeds, just kind of make sure that if you're outside, that the birds don't kind of get to them. You might want to cover them with a bit of mesh or something like that, just during the night, so they don't pick at them during the night. You can keep your eye on them during the day. So yeah, that's our first bit of transplanting into a new plot. Oh, back to the garden, I'm loving it. Really, really nice to be outside and kind of, you know, have the sun in my eyes and constantly squinting. Maybe should turn around. Yeah. So yeah, give us any questions, guys. If you need any help with any growing, it's been really good as always seeing you guys on the forums and on the meetings or on the workshops. It's good we're getting to get outside a bit more, so love to see you on kind of the outdoor activities while we're doing that. And always come to the garden, get yourselves down to the gardens and start growing from home. Perfect time of the year to do it, and look, not a cloud in the sky. So what I'm going to do for you next is we're going to build that TP in our next video for the peas and runner beans. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. And yeah, from me here in lovely Gateshead, yeah, catch us in a bit. Lovely to see yous, and yeah, ciao.